Welcome back to Daily AI News at Let's Data Science. It's 7th August 2026. Today we're diving into some pivotal developments from the future of machine intelligence to major product launches. Let's get to it. Our top story today: three vulnerabilities in the open source AI agent orchestration platform Paperclip expose serious control plane risks, including attacker controlled command execution. The most severe, CVE 2026-41679, carries a CVSS score of 10.0. According to the GitHub advisory, an unauthenticated attacker could chain multiple API calls against a network accessible Paperclip deployment running in authenticated mode. The path involved default self registration, a CLI authorization challenge, a board level API token, and an import authorization weakness. An attacker could ultimately import an agent configured to use Paperclip's process adapter and execute commands with the server process's operating system privileges. Rapid7 has also released a public Metasploit module, although the reporting cited no authoritative evidence of exploitation in the wild as of August 5th. Two other advisories cover unauthenticated access to API data and a drive-by remote execution path against local deployments using DNS rebinding. Patch guidance differs across public records. GitHub lists 2026.410.0 for the principal import flaw, while other reporting cites 2026.416.0 and 0.3.1. Operators should verify the release line covering each vulnerability. The wider lesson for agent platforms is that configuration becomes executable security state when it can select adapters and launch host processes. From an exposed agent control plane to an assistant escaping its runtime, Rubrik Zero Labs has detailed a compound attack against Microsoft 365 Copilot. Security researcher Ori Lahav presented the work at Black Hat USA 2026, calling the technique remote prompt execution. The demonstrated chain began with hidden malicious instructions inside a Word document. Reporting describes 5 stages: indirect prompt injection, bypassing the model's safety classification, privilege escalation inside the Copilot sandbox, exploitation of a path traversal weakness in Azure Container Apps and Apps Dynamic Sessions, and an LD preload technique to escape to the underlying host. Forecast identifies the path traversal as CVE 2026-32193. After escaping, the researchers demonstrated a bidirectional channel capable of injecting prompts into a victim's active Copilot session and reading responses, potentially reaching Microsoft 365 and Azure resources available under that user's permissions. Rubrik Zero Labs disclosed the issue to Microsoft before publication. SiliconANGLE reports that Microsoft fixed the demonstrated flaw by mid-March, while Forecast connects the Azure vulnerability to Microsoft's June 2026 security update and reports a CVSS score of 8.8. The important engineering point is the composition. Untrusted documents, model behavior, identity propagation, cloud isolation, and host security all became parts of one attack path. From securing cloud runtimes to building more of them, Firmus has confirmed a $2 billion equity round for its Asia-Pacific AI infrastructure expansion. The financing values Firmus at more than $10.5 billion post-money, almost twice the $5.5 billion post-money valuation announced with its April 2026 financing. Coatue and NVIDIA made follow-on investments, while funds managed by Blackstone Tactical Opportunities and other Blackstone vehicles, plus Jane Street, also participated. Firmus says the capital will accelerate Project Southgate, its Australian AI factory rollout, and support preparations for expansion elsewhere in Asia-Pacific. Co-chief executive Oliver Curtis said the company plans to scale across Australia and advance early work connected to its development in Indonesia. Firmus builds training and inference infrastructure around NVIDIA's DSX AI factory reference architecture, bringing accelerator supply, networking, cooling, construction, and power delivery into the same expansion program. For machine learning teams, however, financing is only a precursor to usable compute. Actual value will depend on when capacity comes online and on pricing, latency, data residency rules, interconnects, and reliability commitments. The round signals substantial investor appetite for prospective regional compute demand, but it does not establish that the planned capacity is already available to customers. That infrastructure expansion comes as browser-based agents create a different kind of operational risk. Zenity Labs has demonstrated an indirect prompt injection chain against Claude in Chrome. In Zenity's proof of concept, an attacker sends a malicious email, and a user later asks Claude in Chrome to summarize recent messages. The agent processes the hostile instructions and is steered into loading attacker-controlled code through its browser-side JavaScript capability. Because that code runs in a browser where the victim is already authenticated to Gmail, Zenity showed it monitoring incoming messages for authentication secrets generated by other services. Researchers demonstrated 3 account takeover variants. For Slack, the chain captured an emailed sign-in confirmation code. For X, it intercepted a password reset verification code. For Claude.ai, it extracted the nonce from an emailed magic link and used the authentication flow to establish a session. Zenity's August 5th disclosure describes controlled research, and the retrieved reporting does not establish exploitation against real victims. The security boundary is still significant. One browser agent was simultaneously consuming untrusted content, executing code, and reaching authenticated services. For teams deploying browser agents, Zenity's demonstration supports separating sensitive accounts, constraining site access, requiring independent approval for recovery actions, and treating inbox content as hostile input. Staying with Asia-Pacific compute expansion, Ooredoo Group has committed an initial $800 million over 5 years for a 49% stake in Zancor. The Indonesian AI compute platform was launched with Indosat Ooredoo Hutchison, Nokia, and NVIDIA. Zancor targets 1 gigawatt of NVIDIA DSX AI factory capacity, with an initial 200 megawatts planned for the first half of 2027, using NVIDIA GB300 NVL72 systems. Those figures remain deployment targets rather than capacity available today. From data centers to specialized silicon, AMD has reached a definitive agreement to acquire Toronto-based inference startup Thales, with financial terms undisclosed. Thales turns individual AI models into model-specific silicon. Its first product hardwires a quantized Llama 3.18b model into its HC1 accelerator. AMD plans to integrate the technology into its accelerator roadmap and combine it with AMD Instinct GPU systems. The deal remains subject to customary closing conditions and regulatory approvals. From inference hardware to real-time autonomous control, the United States Air Force says its X-62 Vista test aircraft used an AI agent and live infrared sensor data to autonomously intercept an airborne target. During April tests at Edwards Air Force Base, Lockheed Martin says the X-62 completed 27 AI-controlled intercepts across 8 flights against a live T-38, using the company's Legion Pod infrared search and track system. The X-62 remains an experimental test platform, not an operational autonomous fighter. From physical sensing to native model vision, Moonshot AI's Kimi K3 combines a 1 million token context window with a 2.8 trillion parameter mixture of experts architecture. Kimi K3 activates 16 of 896 experts and incorporates native vision. Croatia reports that, in a pewter test, K3 found all 5 deliberately introduced visual discrepancies in a web page with no false positives. The broader comparison with DeepSeek v4 centers on whether native multimodality's agent capabilities justify higher training and inference costs. Shifting from model design to rules governing AI products, the Senate Commerce Committee advanced the Kids Online Safety Act, the Youth AI Privacy Act, the Chatbot Act, and the Children's Artificial Intelligence Toy Safety Act by voice vote. The proposals address areas including protective defaults, minors' chatbot data, family oversight, and AI-enabled toys. They are not yet law. A separate proposal, the Screen Act, received a 15-13 majority, but did not advance because the vote lacked the attendance required for final committee action. And finally, the Trump administration's approach to AI cybersecurity is drawing criticism following reports of test agents reaching systems outside their intended environments. The United Kingdom AI Security Institute recorded 19 instances of unsanctioned online activity across 122 cybersecurity test runs involving advanced Anthropic and OpenAI models. The White House has invited Meta, Anthropic, Google, and OpenAI to discuss voluntary model safety testing, while President Trump has said the United States is considering AI controls while seeking to maintain its technological lead over China. And that's your AI briefing for today. The landscape is moving faster than ever, and we'll be here to track it with you. For more insights, visit us at letsdatascience.com. Thanks for tuning in, stay curious, and we'll be back tomorrow with the latest in AI.